Good morning. So we have stopped over here in the last class discussing about the adaptation layer. So before that we discussed about some of the key advantages of IP and why we need the IP with respect to IoT, and we listed out some of the points. Then we have seen the importance of adoption and adaptation in internet protocol. So we have seen the difference and where exactly the adaptation or adoption layer come to picture with respect to IoT. We have seen that also. And then we discussed about the constrained nodes. So how it will act in a IoT. And we discussed about different IP versions based on the usage. And we have seen why we need to go with IPv6. And we discussed about adaptation layer, why it is important with respect to IoT over here. So this is what we discussed in the last class. Continuing further, from the base physical layer, in each individual layer we must have an adaptation layer because we supposed to cope up with the hardware along with the communication. That's why we needed adaptation layer. So more, if you are stressing more on this particular point, adaptation layer, we need very much some control mechanism so that we can handle the sensor data before transmitting to the network. Either you are converting into one format into another, or we are reducing the format or size, all those things come to picture in this case. And then we have discussed a little bit about this one, right? The difference with respect to IP protocol stack and how we can incorporate entire IP protocol stack within our own wireless private area network as an adaptation layer. So with the comparing the previous diagram, so we're supposed to fix adaptation layer over here. Nothing but we're supposed to merge the layer within this IP. So that is what we have seen in this particular diagram. So you can see over here clearly in the right hand side. So with respect to physical layer, we have 802.15.4 in.4. With respect to data link, it is MAC layer and physical layer. So over here, you can have physical communication channel, can have wireless communication channel also. So if you have wireless communication channel, we're supposed to have our own wireless private area network so that we can have our own setup, and that should be connected to the network. So over here in this low PAN, low WPAN, so we need to have adaptation layer. So now how to go with that? So before that, we just recall the architecture. So this is in the left hand side, we can see IP protocol stack. This is we have very much familiar with, and how we can relate it with this IoT architecture. We have seen three different architectures. The one architecture is one M2M, machine to machine architecture. Then we have seen IoT World Forum architecture. Then we have seen simplified IoT architecture. So along with that, how we can connect those different layers to the network. That is what we can say with respect to adaptation layer. So then we discussed about different headers. What is the use of header and why we need to add it. So with respect to the from the physical point of view, that is, so if you compare from this particular, if you observe the cursor on the screen with respect to physical layer, so while incorporating adaptation layer, so the adaptation layer should transmit the data from upper layer to the lower level, or the reverse side from lower level to higher level. So in this case, as an adaptation layer, it must give clear guidance to either lower or upper layers. So how to give the guidance? Via providing clear cut information in this headers. So you can see over here 802.15.4 header over here, then mesh addressing, fragment header, IPv6 header compression, IPv6 payload. So we have seen how the compression works over here in this particular diagram. So you can see the compression is applied only on IPv6 and UDP. So only this particular network information is compressed. Rest of the things we will keep it as it is, because in the rest of the part we have actual information. That's why we will deal only with the network related information. So here you can see without header, that is without compression, you can see 127 byte of 802.15.4 frame. So what is this particular frame? Nothing but in these two layers of physical, two sublayers of physical, MAC layer and physical layer. In this case, how a data looks like. So if you consider this particular diagram, if it is IPv6, IPv6 related information consumes 40 bytes, and we may follow TCP or UDP. If it is UDP, it may consume up to 8 bytes. Rest of the things, 53 bytes of payload, only less amount of payload we can transmit without compression. So that's why we apply header compression. So header compression is applied only on IPv6 and UDP, so that you can have 108 bytes of data. So how to select whether we need a header compression or no? So again, come back to the previous diagram. With respect to this case, if we want to transmit the data to the internet or through the internet, if it is only local or private area network, WPAN, wireless private area network, then no need to have that setup. Otherwise, we must have to be incorporate IPv6 plus UDP compression. Only then, if you want to transmit the data into cloud, if you want to transmit the data into data center, you're supposed to supply those data through network, through internet. Then only we need the header compression. Otherwise, no need. Okay. So now coming to the fragmentation, where fragmentation applies, fragmentation takes place in this particular layer data link. We will consider if it is physical, we'll deal with the bits. Bits will be joined as fragments. So how that fragment will be fragment header. So here you can see header information. This is actual network header. We won't touch that. We can't touch that particular part, because with respect to physical layer, what are the information we can have with respect to physical, that is stored in this particular part. That is, so what are the things we may expect from this? For example, where we supposed to have sequence number of, this is nothing but sensor related data. Which sensor? The sensor information, simplified sensor information is available in this, and then network related information, name given to that particular sensor, ID, all those comes under in this. Then 1 byte of WPAN fragmentation header. So over here, whether you have a fragment or no, only 1 byte. Then datagram size. So datagram is nothing but actual sensor data. So over here is supposed to have that. So if you have that one, then you're supposed to specify it 1 or 0. 2 bytes of datagram tag, supposed to have the tag, nothing but sequences of 2 bytes, then 1 byte of datagram offset. And then FCS. This is FCS is nothing but error check method. So any one of the method we can adopt in that. So now coming with the same. So when we have that particular header, how to go with the addresses? So address is nothing but from and to, source address and destination address. So for that particular part, we'll go with mesh addressing technique. So mesh addressing technique will have source address and destination address, which is of 2 bytes each, and 1 byte of addressing header. So this is for mesh addressing. So now, what is the use of mesh addressing is, say for example, with respect to private area network, one particular device may have 3 or 4 sensors. You're supposed to connect in P2P, say wired communication. So that is treated as mesh, or if it is a star topology, based on that. So with respect to that, we'll go with this type of addressing, because we have dedicated source, dedicated destination by fixed, that is fixed, because we are dealing with private area network. So we know the number of uh, sensors we use, number of actuators, number of processors. So based on that, we'll decide that one. So that's why we go with the mesh addressing. So now, as we are the engineers, how we can specify this one? So this is specified while you install your OS into that. OS to Raspberry Pi, either Noobs or Beehive or any other method. So while implementing that, you're supposed to have this kind of setup. So if you're very much familiar with operating system installation with respect to Windows or Linux, so we can compare directly with that. So now while going with the installation of operating systems, say if it is a Windows, so while the installation, either you wanted to format entire hard disk or no, that is the first option you're supposed to decide. So if you going to if you are going to format your disk, so the number of drives you wanted, number of partition, and the size that you supposed to specify. So now once you decide that number of partition, automatically the OS itself gives name for it, nothing but providing ID. Say C drive, D drive, E drive, and F drive. So that is how it works. So when you create 4 partitions, nothing but you have 4 different locations. So 4 different destinations. Similarly, while installing operating system for these kind of machines, tiny computers, either Raspberry Pi, Intel Galileo, or Arduino, while setting up your SD card into this particular small devices, you have this particular setup. Or you can relate with BIOS setup if you are very much familiar with that. BIOS, basic input output system in any computer, BIOS setup. So in BIOS setup, you're supposed to set up which is primary disk, which is secondary memory, primary disk, and secondary disk. Say you are making use of 2 hard disks or 2 separate partitions, you have 2 different versions, 2 different operating system in 2 different drives. Then you'll have a bootloader. Through the bootloader, you're supposed to direct the machine, or you're supposed to direct the user in such a way that user has to select any one operating system at a time. That is how it works. Similarly, this mesh addressing. So which addressing method you wanted to follow, that is decided by the installation or by the administrator. In general, we as a normal user, we won't look after in depth about these things. So what we'll do, we'll go with the default set of values. By default, even Raspberry Pi, Intel Galileo, Arduino will take it as mesh addressing only, and IPv6. It is by default. All options are selected or enabled by default. So that's why we are not going into or we can't see the actual part if you cannot observe each step by step. We'll just keep on pressing next, next, next. That is what happens. So now what is the difference? Mesh under and mesh over. So mesh under, in the sense, if you want to have adaptation layer within the limited sensor, within the limited availability of sources, nothing but, say with respect to a private area, say consider our regular classroom, we supposed to have a network in that particular class, so it is limited. We know the number of sensors, we know number of devices within the class, all those. So then it is mesh under. So mesh over routing is nothing but you're supposed to make use of internet, so that you're taking another router kind of setup through the internet using IPv6. That is mesh over routing. I have explained this particular part. If you have gone through the reference material, any clarification, any doubt so far? Any doubt? These are all, so these are all, even mesh addressing, everything is readily available and you can't edit that particular part. You just make use of what is readily available by selecting the option. That's it. So if you want to gone through in detail about these things, you may just visit the internet and type this RFC number, RFC 4944 6282 RFC 677. 7.5. These are the in-depth implementation details, white papers. You can download it from the internet and you can see how actually it has been implemented. So now what is this 6LO? We have seen in previous two diagrams 6LO, WPAN, LOLO. I have not concentrated on that particular part because 6LO is nothing but it is low energy. LO means low energy in general. Because if you are making use of Bluetooth as a communication media, via Bluetooth, we may transfer up to 2 to 3 meters maximum, 0 to 3 meters, not more than that. We may have different versions from 0 to Bluetooth 1.0, 2.0, 3.1, 3.4, and now 4.0 in the market, and 6.0 is already in the development. So if you're making use of Bluetooth, as it is a low energy, doesn't want continuous power supply for this one, so the less power consumption. So all those advantages we may make use. Similarly, we may have some disadvantages. Distance is very less. You can't transmit to the larger distances. Right, and identification, pairing, what we call in general, a normal terminology, pairing of two devices, little bit difficult if it is security is enabled. So all those comes to picture. So now that's why if you are making use of that particular low distance coverage, then we are making use of this particular setup. So now with this particular low power wireless personal area network, that's why 6LOWPANS. So you can manage via this one through the internet. So you can have a router which is Bluetooth or Wi-Fi enabled. So you can transmit all the data from our private area network through wireless, either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. And then from that router or from that access point, you can transmit over the cloud or the internet. So now what we are concentrating over here is with respect to IoT is concerned. So we can deal with these many things. That's all. That is the conclusion. So we are making use of Bluetooth as a low energy, low distance coverage as a communication media, because we are discussing communication actually over the internet. So now with this, so if you are making use of same Bluetooth setup within our own private area, then it is mesh under. If you are making use of WPAN, 6LO WPANs over the internet, then it is mesh over. There is a difference. So now, based on the different manufacturers, different companies, we have something called 6-dish. So this one is nothing but based on the proprietary version. So for example, if you want to have your own wireless communication setup, you can contact any one of the designer, say HP or Sony. They may design for you. So they may come up with their own wireless kind of setup. This is something like providing ID. So ID with the tag, ID with the magnetic strips. So whenever you are within that particular campus, automatically your attendance will be marked. Or whenever you want to enter into an office, you're supposed to swipe your card, magnetic card near the door, or you're supposed to something like iris scan, something like that. So you can enable all these with the wireless setup. So now based on the proprietary wireless technologies, we can adopt all these. So where to have this kind of setup? That is over the physical layer, immediately over the physical layer. Then we'll connect to private area network, then to the network. So if you observe clearly, the basic or low level from the bottom 802.15.4, this is physical layer. To that particular physical layer itself, we'll connect to the wireless setup. Then we'll adopt to private network IPv6. So if you take an example of setting up a IoT smart object with respect to class, say for the individual desk, we have put sensors. That is what the physical object. From that sensors, I'll access all the data through wireless setup. Directly I have connected Bluetooth sensors to the sensor, so that from that actual sensor, I'll get all the data via Bluetooth. From that Bluetooth, I'll send those data to my own network. From the network, I'll connect to the internet. That is how it works. The sensor directly connected to Bluetooth device. From the Bluetooth device, the data is read to my own network or my own processing unit. From there, I will supply to the cloud or store it into data center. So what are the things we supposed to have when we wanted to have 6-dish architecture? So we should have static scheduling, and we have neighbor to neighbor scheduling. We have remote monitoring and scheduling management, hop by hop scheduling, TF, track forwarding, fragment forwarding, and IPv6 forwarding. So we'll see in detail about these things in 2 to 3 lines. For example, static scheduling. Say I have set up a temperature module in our classroom. I have to read the temperature for every 20 minutes or for every 30 minutes. I have written a program. Whenever, say, for every 30 minutes, I'll start from 8 o'clock in the morning. I will start reading from 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, and so on for every 30 minutes. So now this particular type of scheduling is called static because it is not continuous. Once you set up and forget, no need to worry about it. Automatically your program will take care of your entire device. Once it read the data, automatically the machine or the smart object may go to sleep mode. That is how static scheduling works. And neighbor to neighbor scheduling. Consider same example, setting up temperature sensor in the classroom. I have put the sensor in the classroom, say for example, near the switchboard. From that switchboard, I have put up a display, for example, projector. I have to display the temperature on the screen. So from the temperature module to the projector, we may have set up a wireless kind of communication channel. Wireless. For every 30 minutes, the data should be transmitted to a projector, and projector should display the data on the board. That is neighbor to neighbor. So nothing but peer-to-peer connection that we are very much familiar with. Only one device is communicated with another device. Next, we have something called remote monitoring and scheduling management. So remote monitoring is nothing but, by consider same example, if there is a temperature variation in the room, then via the program I can direct the switch, the fan switch, to regulate its speed, high or low. That is remote monitoring. No need of human intervention, no need of anybody else, no need of any hardware in that. Automatically via program I can monitor the sensor data, and we can schedule that management. If the temperature rises more than 32 degree or more than 30 degree, I'll schedule the speed of fan should be increased. Or whenever the time reaches 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 12 to 3, the fan should turn in such a way that 4,000 rotations per minute or more than that. Then we have something called hop by hop scheduling. So this hop by hop scheduling is nothing but if we wanted to communicate with the two different smart objects. So one entire smart object is treated as one hop. Another hop, if you want to transmit data from one machine to another machine, then we may go with hop by hop. For example, if you consider with respect to network, we have client server programming in network. So you give the input to the client, and client will request the server to access the file. If the file is available, server will give you the permission so that you can see the output on client screen, right? Request to server. From that server, whether it is available, it will reply with the acknowledgement so that the client will get the permission to access. Same thing, hop by hop also. So if one particular smart object's output is input for another, then we may go with hop by hop. And then we have something called track forwarding and fragment forwarding. Track forwarding in the sense, for example, some part of the output, some part of the sensor data may be the input for another. The sensor may not need all the data, or the other program or next part may not need all the data. Only few part of sensor data may be needed. For example, with respect to temperature sensor itself, you'll get a temperature. Along with that, if you kept the timer or clock, no need of having the clock, day, time, hour, minutes, seconds, all those things. No need to have that particular part. Only temperature data is needed. So we'll select only that particular part and forward it. Fragment forwarding, similar case, same thing, part of the sensor data is transmitted to the higher layer. IPv6 forwarding. So we are forwarding the entire data or the data through network. So these are the things we supposed to incorporate with respect to 6 dish architecture. So what is 6 dish? Nothing but if you wanted to have a hop by hop or sensor to sensor data, then we may go with that kind of setup. Say for if you consider this particular example with respect to the physical layer, from the physical layer, if you want to transmit the data through wireless, then only 6 dish will come to picture. Why this 6 name? Because of we are making use of IPv6. IPv6 is the foundation for everything with respect to IoT. That's why 6. Any doubt? Any doubt so far? Any doubt?